Well, welcome everyone to another rendition of the Your Little Castle Show. Yours truly, the Cardinal Cowboy. We like to share the excitement in the community, as always, but sometimes we have experts that are multifaceted. They specialize in kind of coinciding areas. It's really the industries that we're talking about today coincide. That's my word of the day, coincide. You like that one? But it's true that every once in a while you get a business owner who's really on the ball and is helping to take care of business from two different angles that work together. And so we've asked Kyle to come back. Previously we talked about Pro Solar, STL, and today we're going to talk about home options made easy, and that's because between the two, you end up in a situation where they really do work together because how often do you have a roof and how often do you have solar on the roof? Right. And we want to talk about that. We also want to talk about specifically the reason this show came up was because there was a hailstorm that came through here. And I was videotaping the hailstorm as it came through. And I was just like, wow, this is a lot of potential damage. I was watching these things hit my deck and everything. And they seemed enough to where it would be something to be concerned with. And then I heard there were reports of like 1.5 inch. And that's where you start talking about some major damage.
Yeah, and that just happened just a couple weeks ago.
And that was a couple weeks ago. So Kyle, tell us a little bit about your roofing business and why you got into the roofing business and how that coincides with what you do a little bit there.
Well, we got into roofing in 2013 after I've been working in roofing for over 20 years, but started my own in 2013. We added solar to the lineup in 2018. Okay. But we started in roofing because it's something that everybody needs. It's something that we can do. And to be honest, I was terrible with computers, so I wanted to play outside, and we went into roofing.
Well, that makes sense. I have a bit of an aptitude for computers, so that's where I went the other direction. Mom and Dad kind of forced that one on me. Mom and Dad love you. Dad's upstairs. Mom's still here working with us. She just turned another big, I put X0. I don't say what the X is. If you can guess, she's 40, 50, maybe 60, maybe more. I don't know. But celebrating her birthday. But they said, you got to go to computer classes. I'm the inside guy with no heavy lifting. My dad would make the joke. But the outside work, there's a lot of need there. And some people that are experts with that. And it ties into what we do. So with that, I'll jump over to our sponsors. As you look up on the large TV walls behind us here, USA Mortgage, the Flowers team. We love what they do to help support us. As I have my mortgage license and was part of the whole idea to help market, and because my computer background, my internet marketing background, I've done this for so many other mortgage companies. So let's partner up and get your license. We'll do this. Great, and love it what we're doing there. The housing market is always exciting. With that though, we also have another great sponsor with Carroll House Furniture because you like nice things in your little castle. That makes sense, right? And so we've got Amy and Brooke, and they have been dynamite sponsors to have on the Your Little Castle. Kind of makes it coincides with our word of the day. You got to have a house. You got to have furniture for your house. So you're in your little castle. So appreciate that. With that, let's jump right back into. You've got some great information out on a number of places. There is your fan page, and then your website. So those are usually the things we put up on the TV walls, if you will. I'm going to put this one over behind us, so we've got one on each wall. And so. Robust website. I started digging through your website a little bit, and I'm like, wow, Kyle, you guys have spent quite a bit of time putting a whole lot of information out there. A lot of people, they just have, a good landing page, a little bit of contact information, a little bit of the history. Man, you've got tons of great information about why things happen, what they are, and we can go through that a little bit as we talk about the show here, what your expertise is. But tell me, what was the path that led to where you're at now? You talked about that a little bit, and I want you to kind of get into the way your two businesses work together, and then I want to hit about that hail stuff that happened and why. You've got some special certifications that people need to know about, right? Because when you're certified to do what you do, that's something other people can't say they can do, and they're in the same business, right?
That's true. So in the construction industry, in roofing, there are, just in our market alone, there's over 1,700 companies that do roofing and siding, windows and doors, the same thing that everybody does.
Right.
In our market, alone, a few years ago, we had 2,700 roofing companies. But we're in a position where I had to do something that I was good at. I had to do something that I was able to help people because I consider myself a salesperson, but I'm not a salesperson. I'm more like a solution provider. I would rather provide a real fix than trying to sell something that somebody doesn't need.
Sure.
So we do it on what people need and what we can do to provide that service.
Well, and that's key to the survival and success of a business. I mean, I've had to go down that path a little bit myself. There's a lot of marketing people out there, but nobody's doing what we're offering to help businesses. And with that in mind, that's where you're setting yourself apart, because you've got to pick that thing apart to say, here's what you really need, and the specialties to be the expert with that. And that's
Right.
where you've really dug in. That was impressive to me. That's why we want to have you back on to talk about it. And it's a competitive industry, and how often I feel like a salesperson isn't, like you said, a true salesperson isn't really a salesperson. They're the informer, right? They're saying, here's all the information, not just a little piece that makes us a nice little profit for a short-term gain, and then we're going to be out of business. I don't think about it that way, I don't think, but that's really what happens, I think. But the people that are in for the long haul, because it's easier. It's harder work up front, but it lasts a lot longer. You like to do things over and over again, or you like to get something done right and keep it going, right?
Well, and that's the thing with your house. Your house is your biggest investment. And when you're putting in windows that, yeah, you could get a $200 window. But do you want a $200 window that's going to last for 7 to 10 years? Or do you want a $400 window that's going to last for 25 years?
Great point.
Do you want to do a roof that you're going to spend, for the sake of argument, let's say $250 per 100 square feet on it, and people spend that on floors and think that roofing is so much, it's so expensive. But it's not really, when you consider that it's protecting everything you own.
Sure.
It's protecting everything you have. So we try really hard to make sure that we put everything to perspective. We take care of it the right way. But you could spend $250 on a roof per square. You could spend $350. You could spend $500 per square, depending on the materials you pick.
Right.
So I don't like to make decisions for people. I don't even like making decisions in my own house. I get told what I'm supposed to do. I fix it. It's just the way it is.
Good strategy.
So I take care of it for other people the same way. If I can show you what I think and why, it's up to you to decide what you want. I'd rather provide you the service you want.
As necessary, because you don't sell people things they don't need is the best fashion to be successful. That's great. Another question I think is going to be kind of interesting for you that I always like to ask, and that is, what is a hobby? What is the background that led to this all? Because you have a unique situation where you put kind of two things together that work really well. Roofing and the solar, they all coincide. You've got some other things we didn't talk about in our pregame prep that you told me before, that is, how often do they have a problem caused by the solar that the roofing guys don't know how to deal with, and that's where you really get to go in. I know today we're talking about the roofing side of it, but tell me a little bit about that and that background you had that led you here from a hobby perspective, or something that just kind of clicked in your brain to make this something you wanted to do.
For my hobbies, I will say that I'm a tinkerer. When most people go home and they go to relax, I go out into the garage and I will tinker. I will build furniture. I will. I have a hobby forge. I make knives, but I just tinker. And if I can, the way that I look at things is I think differently than most people, because I don't look at it as I'm only going to have this one pen. I'm going to have this pen do what it's supposed to do and work with the other 2 or 3 in different colors for a reason. So we try to do it as stages of a piece. Instead of you looking at the roof as just the roof and that's all I'm ever going to do, we do roofing and siding and windows and decks. We do the whole outside envelope, and we do that for a reason, for our insurance. But we do that because that is where the majority of the problems that people face on their homes, they come from there. The other things that you have in your house, your kitchens, your baths, the stuff that people want to do that is pretty, there are a lot of guys that are out there that are better at doing that than me. Can I do it? Sure, I do it at my house. Again, I get told what I'm supposed to fix and I do it. But is it something that we want to tell people and we want to do for our business? No. There's a lot of guys that do it better than me for those portions. So I like to focus on just what we're good at, and we do really well at making the home more energy efficient through all of those extra means. The insulation, the windows, the doors. We try to piece together the solution that's going to be the best fit for a long-term solution at your house.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter that's going to make it work perfectly for anybody. These are all unique. I mean, you've seen the neighborhood. I've shown you pictures of the house because we were talking about the roof that I live in. And every house, there's like 5 floor plans, right? But still, every house ends up being unique besides that because, oh, well, this guy had a chimney, this one didn't. This one had a third car garage, this one didn't. This one had a deck that went across the back, this one didn't. I mean, all of those play into factors of the way water flows and the way things come through the system. I mean, talk about damage caused by water and hail. That's where you get the roof becomes so important. And then that solar tied into that again. Let's talk about a couple of things you've got going here. I'm going to jump around a little bit on you just a little bit. I was very curious when you walked in with a box of colored chalk. And so I was like, I know you have a daughter, I believe, right?
I do.
And I was like, okay, he's just helping carry his daughter's stuff and she's off at school and maybe he's just going to put that away and he forgot to set it down. Not true.
No, we actually use it on a roof.
So hold that up for everybody if you would, because I think this is important. This is another differentiator, if you will. Where Kyle does something a little different, because I've been on a few roofs. I've done a little bit of roofing. My buddy says, Carter, I need some help. I need a roofing guy. Everybody knows you and trusts you. Come work for me. I said, okay. And I got there and did that a little bit. And I'm like, not really what I want to do, but I'm a computer guy, whatever. But I saw the chalk circles. They would just put a circle, put a circle, put a circle. Got your white chalk. That's it. Why do you have multiple colors? That's something to me. It's like, okay, something's going on here now. Why is that?
Well, I typically use 2 or 3 colors on every inspection I do. Because there is damage that we're going to see, and when we're looking at a roof, you can have heat damage, you can have hail damage, you can have mechanical damage, you can have installation issues where the nails are kind of pushing back out against the shingles and it looks like it's damaged, but it's really a failure in the installation. There's a lot of things that we could see, and I don't like to do things twice, so I mark it out so that I can see it, and when I take a step back and I take a picture of it, we can see the whole big picture all at once.
Here's all the different types of, not just, because you're standing back, you can't tell what that is, but if you got a circle with a specific color, then
right.
You know that had this particular damage versus this has a different type, it has to be treated differently.
Right.
Okay.
So we do that just because I like to do it to make it so that everybody can see. When I show them a picture, they're going to know what's wind damage, what's hail damage, what's because of somebody else's mistake, what's somebody walking on the roof, or when you hang your Christmas lights, people damage roofs all the time and don't realize it until they start getting the granules washing out into their downspouts, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's mechanical damage when you drag stuff across the roof, an extension cord. You can actually rip the granules off the roof.
Sure, it depreciates the value or the integrity of the
product.
And so then you start to damage it, and then the next storm comes through, does more damage. I get it. Interesting. Wow, that's why we like the brainiacs. I'm going to consider Kyle to be one of the brainiacs out there, and that's, some people call me that, and it's not necessarily a good thing when you're having a conversation with us because we've got so much information going through our head. But it is a good thing if you're a business consumer from a business guy who's that way, I think, because they've got so much data. Watch out, but they're going to make sure and get it done right because they've got so much in the brain that makes it happen.
Right.
Is that a?
I think that's true. No, I don't think it bothers me. I think it's funny because I get told the other way. But at the same time, I'm good at what I'm good at, and you're good at your stuff.
Yeah, that's where ultimately my dad. I always quote my dad. I hope that doesn't bother anybody, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And that is that he told me as a kid, you have to learn to specialize in one thing that you become very good at. The rest of that stuff won't matter because you will make enough money off the one thing you specialize at. You can just pay people
to do
the rest
yep.
the right way, and you want to have enough money where you're not doing all cheap. We talk about this all the time. Cheap becomes very expensive. Mm-hmm. Like you said earlier, do you want to buy that window that's going to fail on you? And do the math. Let's talk about that. 7-year window. They don't tell you that probably. Oh, it should last, but always, mm-hmm. $200 window as an example, 7 years, and then you end up with that window that says, all right, well, I could have bought one that was let's say 21 because my football skills kicking in here. 21, that's 3 times longer, and it was only double the price. Hello.
Right.
Right? Those are things people don't consider.
And that's part of it. And when you're looking at things, can you find cheaper product? There's always a cheaper product. Isn't necessarily what you want, though.
Right. Very important stuff as we try to help everyone realize what's going on in our little planet as we do. With that, I put on the Cardinal cowboy hat, and because we're talking about how we're helping the community, and that's what I like to emphasize, and also sharing some great tips. If you just want to become a business owner, listen to guys like Kyle because they can tell you the tips that make it successful. You mentioned a little bit about the certifications, and I want to put that up on the wall. We have that. I decided, in your case, every interview we do has its own unique perspectives that we put on. So I'm going to put this up on the wall for everybody to see. Tell everybody what we're looking at here. This is the certification website.
Correct.
HAAG. Tell everybody what that is.
The Hague certification is very commonly what most home inspectors use to get their certifications. Insurance companies are many of their home inspectors are Hague certified, and they will specialize in a specific section where they will use. If you look at the top right there, you just scroll past it. There's a residential, a commercial, and a wind damage. The wind is the hardest one of the three, to be honest. It doesn't seem like it should be, but it is actually the hardest one to get your certifications with. But the residential and the commercial roofing are very commonly done for a good inspector. Now, not every inspector is, but we like to try. We do our best and stay current on our certifications. We do carry Hague certifications. We carry certifications for energy efficiency, where we do home energy audits, a handful of others.
And I'd say the thing that I wanted to make that point was that how many roofing owners, business specialists, don't have that certification. I mean, I'd say very few actually do, because that's literally what the inspector coming there should have, right?
Right.
Ideally, so maybe he's working for some insurance company that they didn't require that, but I would imagine. But do most insurance companies have somebody who is certified?
Most of the time.
It's
not every inspector, but it's, I would say 60% or better of the inspectors out there are certified with Hague for doing this, because you kind of have to have some level of skill to even know what you're looking at.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. For you to have that as the roofing expert, you bring a lot more to the table for people to say, I know what they're going to come at you with. I know what they're going to be asking. I know what they're going to be looking for, because I've been certified for what they do and what they look for.
Right.
That's pretty powerful. I know with one other gentleman, he talked about how he had been a roofing inspector before, but he didn't have the certification. I don't know anybody I've ever heard that has the actual certification and is the owner of a roofing company.
Right.
That's pretty neat. And I think that's a big advantage you offer your clients, and something to consider, everybody. If you're looking for service that's going to do well, get the guy who has the certification. And if you're looking to start your own business, look for the extra certifications you can gain so that you can provide that expertise.
Yep, and you can do that with even just your manufacturer suppliers. Your manufacturers, you get the right certifications from them, it carries over, it helps you. And it's good for the end user, it's good for the customers, because then they have the option for extended warranties that they wouldn't have otherwise. And when you're doing things like what we do with the roofing and solar, we can tie those together and offer an all-inclusive extended warranty, and a homeowner can have a 25 or 30-year warranty on a total package instead of one piece.
Very important. Okay, because you are spending quite a bit of money on these types of projects, and you want to make sure these things last for a long time. It's no longer, or it's getting to be less and less of the wild, wild west.
Right.
As they say. But our country is kind of evolving here, and now they're talking about certifications and guarantees and those types of things. You want to make sure you're getting them from the companies that and offer those things, because if you get a roof that's not guaranteed and it has a failure, you're buying another roof potentially. And that can be very expensive also. So
right.
Not just that cheap is very expensive, being not covered is very expensive too. So, all right, good information. All right, tell me a little bit more then. What is it about your business that really fuels your passion? I mean, you didn't just wake up one day and say you wanted to be a roofing guy, but what was the passion that led you there? I obviously say because you like to help people, you saw the industry needed some direction. Why did you decide to go, especially you wanted to get the certifications and all that?
I got the certifications because I wanted to help people more effectively. I actually got into it because my parents filed an insurance claim and did not get their roof bought, and it made me angry.
Okay.
So that's legitimately why I started.
There's that passion kick.
I started when I was 17, got into it because I got up there and did their roof for them because they didn't know how. I was already working in construction. Granted, I was a grunt. I was doing what I was told. I wasn't a thinker then.
Right.
But I did know how to work. So I started then when they filed their insurance claim and couldn't get their roof covered because of a caveat that they didn't know. I wanted to make sure that I didn't have that happen to people, I could help people do it the right way.
Okay, let's take a look at very, very important. Now I realize there's always some reason it clicks in sometimes. My parents got taken advantage of, and so you said, I'm going to step in and I will make it, and that's good, because when people have that passion, that's when they work much harder to get things done, and that's what we're looking for from the people that are going to do those types of, go the extra mile, they say, right? Let's take a look here. So on the wall next to Kyle over there. I'm going to go ahead and put this back up for everybody to see. Tell everybody what that is. That looks like some little nifty snowballs or something. Except these aren't so soft as snowballs, right? What are these?
These are just pieces of hail and these just came down about 2 weeks ago.
That's an actual picture from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is an inch and a half hail.
Inch and a half hail. That looks almost bigger than an inch and a half, but
It does, but it's just
that'll knock somebody out.
You got 5 or 6 of them in your hand, it throws off.
Okay, so this is the stuff that causes damage to where you end up going around with your chalk.
And we start marking it up.
You start marking it up. So here you've marked this. I think it's the other angle, but it's a KB something. What do you?
Yeah. So I make every guy when we're doing our inspections, we tag who was over on that roof, so that when we put the picture in the job file, so we can keep track of everything. We know who did the inspection. We can see. So F is front. When it's the back of the roof, it'll have the B on it.
Okay.
So we have front, back, left, and right. We have H is for hail, W is for wind, M is for mechanical. And we take one picture at the top of the roof that shows us all what we saw on our test squares. Okay. And then when you take a step back and you go on to if you would go on to the next picture.
Yeah.
You can see where we do the half circles is marking where we see hail. I did one big drag. That's a mechanical damage. Somebody drug something big on, so this right here, somebody drug something or they slid on the roof with their foot or something because they drug it over multiple shingles and it's almost a straight line. And that is definitely not common for hail damage.
Okay, so some mechanical damage.
Yep.
All right, and then we've got a little more here. Let's see what we've got. Oh, I zoomed out there, so let me go back over here. What do we got here? Another mark?
Okay, so the underline here, this is actually right here, that dark spot right here. When you have I'm going to say a roofer that doesn't necessarily know what they're doing, they're going to try to say that everything is hail damage. And that's what happens in the industry. Everything is hail damage. In this particular case, this is actually heat blistering. And you can tell because the granules are, if you look at the black mark, the granules, the roof rocks, are sharper edged around the outside. And it's showing to us from this picture, it looks like a high definition image instead of I will say a flattened or a smoothed over.
Okay.
So this right here, and you can see the shadow line, that's where actually the heat actually baked the tar on the shingle until the point where it got hot enough to bubble or blister like your skin does, and it blew granules off.
Okay, got to get out my pen here and take some notes. Bubbles. All right, everybody. We try to emphasize, but there's times when you should be taking notes, so we got our supersized pencil here. But all right, everybody, take some notes, everyone. Kyle is giving us very valuable information. Thank you for that, Kyle. All right, let's go to our next slide here. I've got to zoom it back out and then switch to the next, I think. There we go. And as we gone through those, I want to make sure we went through. And then, yeah, and this is where I decided we need to snap some of what people had to say about your business, because we look at the reviews people have, and you've got some good people that said some good things about you, and that's because you're doing a good job. So we'll put that back on the wall for everyone to see. But this is Slake.
Yep.
My home has been prepared as good as you can no longer tell. I had a fire. The professionals at Home Options Made Easy took care of everything. I'm very happy with the results. After working with Home Options Made Easy, I would recommend them to anyone simply for the fact that they are honest, friendly, and take the time to answer my questions. I will work with them again should the need arise. So there you go. And you remember working with Slike about his there was a fire? Wow, he had a,
yeah.
That's a kind of a crazy one.
They unfortunately had a fire on the back of their house, and we had to do a deck and siding and a few windows, and it was a restoration so that it didn't burn the whole house down, but it burned the back wall out. Great job there. All right, good work. Next one, I'll put this up for everybody to see also. This is Elizabeth. Kyle came out and met with my insurance adjuster, did all the work for me. He was able to point out additional things that had been damaged by the storm and make so they were replaced as well. The work started about 2 weeks after getting approval from the insurance company, and the job was done in just a few days. His crew took care of all the cleanup. Now I have a beautifully updated roof for my home. I will use Kyle again for my next home improvement project. All right, you've got a couple people. They're giving you the reviews because they love what you're doing. That's right.
Very cool. All right, last one here. I used that we're going to share. You got many more, I know, but we're going to share these 3. I used this company to put new windows in my condo, and they did a fantastic job. They had my windows installed in one day and cleaned up after themselves when they were done. It's cutting off there. The price was half of what Anderson Windows were quoting me and other window companies were quoting me, plus better windows than the other companies were trying to sell me. Interesting. Yeah, so I guess there's just some of them mark it up and say, this is good. I don't know, it's just becoming an informed consumer is difficult because how do you know?
And and there's just misinformation everywhere. There is so much that you can find, and there's some of it's true. I mean, I won't say that it's all bad information. There's good information out there too. You just have to be able to sift through it, and that's not always easy.
Sure, yeah, you're going to end up in a situation where most people are trying to understand this. This is not their area of expertise, so they just got to go with somebody they can know and trust. And that's why, after having you on the show prior and talking to you about this, I'm like, this is somebody we know and trust, and does a great job.
I appreciate that.
And that's important. Another note I wanted to make for everybody here, as you look at this, Home Options Made Easy is technically an acronym for home. I like that.
It is.
Is that right? HOME, Home Options Made Easy. Took you a while to come up with that a little bit, and you like that. Tell everybody why you picked that.
I actually picked that because I really, really wanted to use the tagline, "There's no place like home," and use Dorothy slippers in one of my ads eventually. That's what I wanted to do. And I haven't done that yet, but I have a fascination with it, and I like the books, and I read them to my daughter now, and we do the Wizard of Oz thing. So because it's something that I grew up with, I wanted it to stick.
Well, there you go. Another note, everybody. Take note. There's no place like home. Write that down. You need to take note of these important things. Home Options Made Easy. Making a note of that. All right. So as we continue here, a little bit more of the exciting stuff I like to cover. What would you argue is the one thing that really sets you guys apart? I mean, I can kind of already see all of that, but if you had to narrow it down to somebody, say, hey, in one sentence, here's the thing we do that sets people, and then explain it for me why that is.
Well, I like to think it's because we try to do right by every customer. We try to do it the right way, the best way we can, like I was dealing with my grandma or my parents and trying to help them. And when I do an inspection, I want to show this picture too. When we do an inspection...
Hold that up just a little bit and to the
left.
There you go.
Sorry.
Yep, there you go.
So I map every house while we're on our inspections. The same way that we showed the pictures of the roof, we mark out on the picture where we did our inspections at, so that we can show it to the customer. We can show them exactly what we did, what the where the roof damage is and what it is, and we try to take care of them like they were family. We want everybody to be taken care of. But in doing that, to actually do that the right way, we've done it through certifications, we've done it through warranty registrations, we've done it to make it so that our two companies, our Home Options Made Easy and Pro Solar, can work together with an all-inclusive warranty. We've staged all these things to make it so that we can better take care of the customer.
And I'm going to call you out a little bit, if I can, to say, it's also because he's really smart and studies this stuff, because again, I know a lot of great guys that do great work, obviously, but I'm watching at the depth and how the detail you pay so much attention to, and it's because you're analyzing this more than I've seen. And so it just really helps people to understand there's so much that goes into these things. You have to dig in before you really fix a problem. If you're not going to dig in, then you're just coating it over and getting it done, then you're really not fixing the problem. And that can cause
that's what we do. You can treat a symptom, or you can fix the problem. And that's what we try to do, is address the problem from the beginning and make sure it's done right.
Even if it takes where you have to use multiple different colored chalk, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, that made an impression on me, because I'm like, there's a reason you have multiple colors. It's color coding. I mean, talk about putting together a little TV show there. I've got like 75 things I got to get in line here. So I'm one who's very attuned to paying attention to detail. And that is what separates the very best from the people that do a good job. And then we all know the people who don't do a good job, they don't have anything in order.
Right.
And you can tell that pretty quickly by looking at them. So I think that's what I would say. I to give you even more kudos to say you go a little beyond, way beyond, to get the technical depth that a lot of people may not pick up on, and that's something that's super important when you're talking about this stuff. What is a thing that a lot of people have to worry about as a mistake a consumer makes, especially when you're talking about roof, big, the single largest component on a house, is that right? Outside of the foundation maybe, but it's the piece that covers everything. Your foundation, yeah, you don't want problems coming up from underneath, but from stuff coming up from the top down, it goes into everything else. It gets into the walls, gets into the siding, gets into the insulation. These are big problems that you have to circumvent by having the roof piece in place. What is a mistake somebody should watch out for that when they're getting either a roof repaired or a roof replaced?
I would say whenever the insurance company is there to help you, make sure you do it right from that point on, because the real kicker is, and I hate, unfortunately, that I've done it, and I talked to other customers that we've done it with. Let's say, for example, that you filed an insurance claim, and we're replacing the roof, but when we're up there, we see that the plywood is bad. And when we're pulling out one piece of plywood or two pieces of plywood, that's not such a big deal. When you've got 50%, 40% of your roof decking, the wood underneath the shingles is bad, is it going to be covered by your insurance to replace that? That depends on the policy you have. I would say more often than not it won't. But it is something to show, because it's how everything is held together. Your whole house is held together with the trusses, the plywood, and then the shingles go on top to give it a finished look and to make it look pretty and to make sure it stays watertight. But that plywood is one of the things that most people will overlook and won't tell you. They will try to to give you a cheaper product when they're doing it. They will try to reuse what they shouldn't. And I don't like doing that. I would rather take pictures, and if you tell me you want me to try to save the money, we'll try to save the money. If we have the opportunity and we can do it right and make it so that it's no longer going to be an issue for the next 50 years, we'll make sure that it's not.
Interesting. Okay. I pulled up your link. I wanted to show everybody. Do you want to log into this? I will let you log in.
Sure.
And I'm going to put the camera on me while we do that, so that's just, they're looking at me now. But go ahead and pull out. We always are innovating, so I'm actually handing Kyle the keyboard that we keep underneath the table here so that we can get logged in to everything. And this is a computer-based show, right? Everything here is done with computers these days. And so Kyle's logging into this website because this website gives some valuable information, because now the data is out there. There's tons that you can learn by collecting this data, and it shows where these storms have come through, and you're going to end up seeing the damage that can be tracked and what really what happened out there, and that's what we want to be able to show to people. So let's do I'm going to go with a real wide shot here to show a little bit of what we're looking at here. So Kyle, I clicked on this map. Should we scroll in here? We're going to drill into this a little bit, because you can see, wow, it looks like a lot of these are hail storms, hail maps. It looks like, wow, it's mostly in the Midwest, and it's in the West Midwest, I guess, or before you get to the...
Right now, this is all the storm reports. So the ones that you're looking at now are current. This is today's map. When you zoom in on an area...
Okay, let's do that.
So if we zoom in on St. Louis, and you can click and drag. So we can do it by the map, and we can set different parameters to where you are looking at storms from the past or the present. So let's start there, and then I'm going to have you click on the Outlook. I think it's on the Outlook is where we get to define the map. Okay, so that's telling us where they see the next storm coming at. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. And now what you had shown me before was that those hailstorm and the size that was coming in there. And I mean,
correct.
I got hail maps.
If you look at this on the right side,
okay,
we've got one hail report, size is 1 inch hail, and then it tells you how many places reported it. So it gives us an area, and we can search in here and put in days. We can put in size of hail, but in our market, just in St. Louis.
And then I think you said what day was that when that big storm came through here?
That was in...
And bear with us, everybody. We're well over the halfway mark, so this is in our second half of the show. And as we keep going, we sometimes lose track. But you guys are watching the extended version here, and we got all kinds of good information. We can take a little more time to dig into it. But look at all the information that is being shared here, and all of the data they collected, and the size of these hail. Oh my God, that 2.5 means 2.5 inches. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that's a large chunk of hail coming at you. So we went back as far as right now, so the 520. And if we're going to do a search.
So right now I'm doing the search.
And there's a search available. And so how did you do that search? Is that something I missed up here at the top?
So I went to
Live hail. Wow, okay.
Hang on.
And today, thank goodness, no reports of hail. But you can see the history every day for the last 14 days. That's all they show us. Major damage has been caused over there. And so with that, why don't we just, as a matter, I'm going to drill into just one of these.
Let's just pick one.
Because it'll give a good example no matter what. So let's look at this. Look at this, 2.75. And we know the one in St. Louis that had a 1.5, St. Charles 1.5.
1.5 was just a couple weeks ago.
But here you can see where this is saying there was a cluster. Where was this at? Does it deal into the map?
Custer, Colorado, and they had up to 3-inch hail. What was that, 3-inch? 2.75?
Yeah, and so in the middle here, yeah, that's a 2.75. It's underneath that, I think. But yeah, I mean, geez, when you're getting hit with something that's 2.5 inches wide, I think a baseball is like 3.5 inches wide.
Right.
This is almost the size of a baseball. This is some large stuff coming down. You got to watch out here, and that's why those pictures you showed and the damage people need to worry about. And so, talk to me a little bit about, as people understand this. I want them to understand why this is so detrimental, because I mean, especially I think the issue we ran into most recently, because we looked at another buddy's house and we started talking about this, and it doesn't seem like it's a whole lot of damage because it was just a little bit of hail. It was only smaller pieces. But then you really start to analyze it. You're looking at these punctures that were made that if you just glossed over it, you'd think you got no damage, and all of a sudden you got a lot, and you don't report it. And then what kind of problems do you create for yourself?
So everything that we do, the insurance companies, everything that you can do for your house, technically there's a statute of limitations on how long you can claim damage. So when we know an event happened, that's when you start getting the knocks on the door from every company that's out there still trying to do your roof, or you'll start getting phone calls or emails or however it is. And I won't claim innocence. We do the same thing. We work it the same way. We do it off of the maps, and we do the best we can to target just around the areas that we should see the damage at. Because we don't want us to chase stuff that doesn't exist. We don't want people to try to do something unnecessarily. If it's not time to look at it, we don't want to waste our time or yours. But the best way that we can to try to help people is to, one, know what we're talking about, two, and make sure we're working around the areas that really need it. We're trying to help the people that need it.
Well, that's the key to it. And again, back to information is power. And when you've got access to this kind of data that you can analyze and say, here's where the storm hit. We know it hit. You should be making sure you didn't have damage, because if you do and you don't get it fixed, you're setting yourself up for a lot of problems later.
Right.
And that's what they need to pay attention to. Or else they're going to get a claim later and it won't be covered. And they'll be fixing it themselves, or there's something they got claimed but didn't fix it, and now it won't be fixed the second time.
It won't be fixed, yeah.
All kinds of problems you create by doing it. Back to know who you're talking about, know who you're talking to, and get somebody you can trust, because they will make sure that you get this done right. Okay, so tell me a time when you really feel like you helped a client, because I know this becomes an industry where there's lots of opportunity to help people.
There is. I think when I was actually working a storm that hit Fenton a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, one whole street, and almost all the people on that street were retirees. All of them. Not all of them, but most of them.
Right.
And when we started with just one house, and I only sent my guys through there one time. We don't like to do stuff over and over again if we don't have to. But we went in, we helped one person, and then that one person, because everybody in that neighborhood apparently talks to each other, they were all waiting to see who got picked, and then they walked us through, because we went through and got to help everybody else in that neighborhood. So because we spent the time to do it right for one, we got to help 12 or 15 people on one street.
Yeah, you build that reputation for doing it the right way and making it right, then you're going to get more business because you're doing what's right. That's the key here, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people understand it, but we like to emphasize it. It's like you have to say things sometimes so that it sticks. And it's just so many people are looking for that short, quick, easy way to make a living, to get things done, and it always costs you when you do that. That's why we spend the extra time putting together things the right way, so that you don't have to do it again and you end up saving money in the long run for sure. Tell me, what's the process? Somebody has something that happens, they feel as though there's an issue. How do they work with you? What's the easiest way to get started with you, and what should they do to contact you or work with you?
Well, you can call us. You can email us. We schedule appointments out. We try to run 2 or 3 a day where we're going out and doing the inspections. As you can see, when we're doing our inspections, we don't do a quickie picture and get off the roof. We get up there to make sure that we're, one, going to help you, and 2, be able to do it the right way to make sure that you're taken care of. So our inspections typically take about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, depending on the roof and how uncomfortable it is to walk, because some of them do get a little steep. Yeah,
I've seen some roofs that were relatively steep. You're like, how do you got to crawl up this thing to get up there and make sure it gets done right? That's why you don't want to do these things yourself. You want to get somebody that has, and they got bear claw shoes that you can wear to make sure that they grab the roof better.
We've got different kinds of shoes, and I've got a tool called a goat.
A goat.
It's like a fancy ladder with a hook on the end that goes up over the top of the ridge to make it so we can climb a steeper roof easier.
Okay, interesting. So there it is, everybody. Home options made easy. The website I can put up there for. I'm going to read the phone number here first for everybody, as you see there: 636-333-3346.
Yep.
That's a pretty cool phone number, and we want people to make sure that they can get a hold of you, because that's important for people to have the contact information available. HomeOptionsLLC.net.
Correct.
I like that too. And home options made easy. Home. You got to take care of your home, everybody. Home. Go into your home. Well, good stuff. Another note we need to take there, everybody. Let me write that one down. We got to make sure we take note for our important things that we want to make sure. Write that down, everybody, and you can see it right here as well. There's that phone number for Kyle as I put the picture up there. I'll put Kyle up on the screen here with both of us on our super duper camera that's always scrolling back and forth. This is our highly priced, yet not highly paid cameraman, who's in studio 24/7, always available, and goes back and forth. We're technology guys, man. It's called a slider. It makes us save money, but is efficient. It makes everything look good and helps us to get the word out for what we're trying to do. What's one big challenge you've had to go through with your business, or you've had to overcome, or maybe a client you've seen that had to overcome, and somewhere you go, oh boy, this is going to be a problem, but we're going to make sure this gets done right. And how did you help overcome that? How did you overcome that challenge?
Well, I will say, just getting hurt on the job, and I fell off a roof a while back. And I still get up and work. I just don't work as hard as I used to.
Right, you've got workers, people that
I
help you. When you're good at this, you get employees, and then to train them to do it the right way.
Right.
I'm with you on that one. That's for sure. And that's something to be careful of. And that's why another reason I would emphasize: don't try to. This is one job you may not want to do yourself. Fix a little hole in the wall, move a refrigerator, okay. Climb up on a roof, yeah. This is where people,
it's not everybody's strong suit.
Yeah, there's a stat that's out there. It's like, there's like 6,300 deaths a year from people who just fell. Mm-hmm. And that's not a good way to go, man. So
well, and you're not even falling from super height. You're falling from 8 feet. You're just falling weird.
Yeah, you land on your neck or something, and all of a sudden, don't go. Anyway, so not trying to freak out everybody, but yeah, do not go climbing up on your roof. I am a very capable young man here still, I imagine. After I played professional football until I was age 41, and then played minor league and all that stuff. But I still don't go up on a roof. I'm just telling you, it is something that will get you in a position where you might end up causing yourself to be hurt in a dramatic way. If you cut your hand trying to saw something, okay, that's one little thing, okay, it's not good. But falling off a roof can be bad. All right, enough about that. Strike to me at one. What's your favorite quote? You seem like a kind of a motivated guy. If you had a quote you would look back on in life and you go, man, that's the thing that kind of helps keep me going. What would be one quote that you think has helped you to survive and be proficient in what you believe as a business owner?
I'm going to stick with "There's no place like home." I wanted to do that. I wanted to do it when I was 18, and it just took me a few years before I was good enough to be able to do anything on my own. And then when we started our business, so that's what we wanted to build around. There's no place like home. Make your home your castle.
There you go. And that's so true, because it's a matter of where's your comfort, where you set yourself up with all the amenities that you need to be successful and happy and have that positive attitude. I mean, I can go on this for hours about why that's so true, because if you don't have your own little castle while you're tying into it, there's no place like home, and you make it your little castle, right?
Right.
And that's dynamite. Now we're even kind of partnered up here on this, but it's the truth, man. And you got to have a great environment to be in. People talk about the environment. The environment helps lead to where you go in life, your success. And so there is no place like home. Make it your little castle. Maybe I'll throw that in from now on. I'll give you a plug as we go. What we do. What's one major objection that people have when they come to you and they're like, yeah, but what would that one objection you say comes out a lot?
My buddy's a roofer. We hear that a lot. Everybody knows a roofer somewhere.
Sure.
Really, we don't actually have that many objections because, like I said, we try to take care of people differently. But I will say that that's probably the most common one we see, is either one, they didn't get about by the insurance company and they don't want to do it themselves, or two, my buddy's a roofer, my brother's a roofer, my cousin,
Sure.
I went to school with somebody, and we see that a lot here.
And it goes back to, then that's fine. They might be able to put the roof on, but when it comes down to, is it still functioning as it
should?
As a protection for your house, where you have go back to your home. You got to have a home that is safe and a great environment to reside in. And I've known people who've had mold and all that stuff, and that comes out because the water came through because they just didn't put the shingles down correctly or didn't seal it. There's all kinds of problems you get with that. And don't try to skimp on the roof, I guess, is another, by having your brother-in-law, and I love your brother-in-law, and be nice to him, but don't have him do your roof unless he's like part of a certified company that's done all the right things and all that stuff. And if you don't know that guy, call my buddy Kyle here. So that's who you need to talk to. All right. So as we finish up here, a couple little more things to discuss. How do you and your company really contribute to the community? I know you've been in business doing stuff and working for other people, and now your own company for many years. What do you feel like you do most to contribute to the community?
We actually try to sponsor stuff through the school, through the high schools. We sponsor at Fox, which was where we started our business at, where we started our office at, was in Arnold, so we started with Fox. But we also do a lot with charities. I run with March of Dimes. We do events for them. We do stuff with Heroes Care. I like to plug those guys. They do a lot for veterans and veteran needs, and VFWs and a bunch of other things. So we try very hard to make sure we take care of people so that they can take care of other people. And everybody, if we can all do our part, it'll be a better place. It just is. Yeah,
it's just sometimes it seems that psychology, that philosophy is almost lost because, and I blame the internet. And I have a master's thesis, okay, everybody, that I wrote called The Internet. And I predicted a lot of things that have become true now. I wrote that in 1995 through 98, and that's a long time ago now. But you can kind of see what's happened here, and I'll take the blame, or I don't know if I have the blame for that, but I mean, these are the things that are going to happen. We're in this accelerated environment now, this accelerated culture where everything's got to be done right now, quick, fast, and people think that it all just happens instantly. And when you do things in that fashion, there's always something you miss. There's always something that gets overlooked. There's something that didn't get the attention that it needed, and then it fails. And not everything is done like that. And believe me, when you're building electronic devices and servers, and which I've done for a living, they take time to get done right. And you want to make sure and do those things right. I think that's kind of what I've seen, what you portray and what you value as something that makes it important, especially when you're talking about something as valuable as somebody's house.
Right.
Because it's not just the roof you're talking about. There's the roof affects the whole house.
Correct.
In a dramatic way. Very important stuff. And tell me a little bit more about the one charity you mentioned. I'm very familiar with the March of Dimes. You mentioned another one right after that.
Heroes Care.
Tell everybody about what Heroes Care is.
Heroes Care is a national charity. We have one of the biggest branches of it in St. Louis, and they're out of High Ridge here in town. But they help place veterans that are struggling to get back into a work environment after war times. They help those that, unfortunately, if you look at the homeless statistics in our country, the largest per capita number of people that are homeless are veterans. And some of it's by choice. I've talked to a bunch of those guys. A lot of them, they just don't want to live a normal life. Their life is different for them. But there are others that they just don't know what to do now. They lost track of themselves and they need help. So the Heroes Care helps put people back to work. They help train people. They help put people into temporary housing to get them back on into the regular world.
I think what I've got them up over there on the screen, is that them?
It is.
Right. So take a look at there, everybody. It's heroescare.org, so it's an org. And it came up, it said right there, High Ridge is the one that we pulled up here. So, yeah, there they are. And reach out to these guys. We're always trying to highlight the charities. By now, people know. I think we've made a list. We stopped making a list after I got to about 75 charities that I'd been involved with, and just trying to put some attention on them. I don't work with them all very closely all the time, obviously, but some of them I work with on a regular basis. But we're always trying to highlight those because Heroes Care here, obviously, most of us understand that it's very important to make sure that our country is safe and the people that are putting their lives on the line and these heroes that are doing so. You can't have a little planet without having those who are willing to keep order and make sure that we're all safe and protected. And the Heroes Care, I'm always big about the military related. Are they military related?
They are. They're veteran based, yeah.
Because heroes could be, but I see the star there, and that's pretty cool. That's a great one. Well, I'm glad we got to share that a little bit because there is so much, again, that goes on in our little planet. The business is great. Business is important, but the business generates most of the revenue that's out there for people to create the organizations and do the things to help the community. But pay attention to some of those out there. And I was not familiar with them until you brought them up, so thank you for bringing them up.
Thank you.
And sharing that with everybody here a little bit. What is it that ultimately gives you the most satisfaction with what you do here, Kyle? I mean, you're putting together quite a bit. And if you want to mention a little bit how the solar ties in, because I know that we kind of just mentioned that at the beginning, but why that coincides and why you have two companies that really work together and how you really, I mean, you're contributing in a major fashion by doing that.
When I like to be able to turn around at the end of the day and take a picture of what I did and show that, man, that looks good. This is a good job. And I like to be able to show that to the customer when we're done. I like to be able to turn around and show them this is what you got. And if I can do that every day, I at least feel like I'm doing something with it. I'm helping the customer, but I can show them why it's a good job. We can show them all the information, and information's great, but information without practice does you no good either. So we just try to do it. We just do the best we can. I think that's why.
We're always looking for key points to make here, ladies and gentlemen. There's another one that Kyle just reminded me of. And I'm not bashing the really smart people. And Kyle and I might fall in that category a little bit because we're almost too smart for our own good, some people would say. I've heard that. But it's at the same time, I'm not the smartest guy out there. I don't claim to be. I know some of the really smart people. And I'm not going to name any names, of course. I have people I think about it within, I won't even say where, but it's a matter of they're almost too smart for their own good. And kind of the point you made there was that it's great to have all this knowledge. It's great to have all this information, but you have to proactively do something with it. You have to apply what you've learned.
Right.
And the biggest hurdle, I think, so many people that are brilliant, is they go, I'm so brilliant and I'm so smart. I just have to sit here, everything's going to happen for me. And that's not the way it works.
Right.
And so you have to apply that too. So that's another great point. We're always, again, that's one point. I don't know if we've actually made that one on the show before, but thank you for bringing that out because, hey, guys, it's great to be a brilliant person. It's great to be really smart. But unless you go out there and do it, it doesn't matter. My dad always made the joke with me. The A students always worked for the B and C students because the B and C students weren't so smart, but they were willing to do the work. And so they started the companies, and then they hired the A students to come work for them because they could get them to do enough to say, hey, figure this out for me real fast because you're so smart. And the A students didn't want to work that hard, they would argue. And I can't say it's true across the board, of course, but something to just keep in mind. If you haven't been an A student, go out there and make sure you work hard too. If you're a B or C student, go get the smart people to work with you. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, probably.
To keep in mind with how you, if you want to be successful on this little planet, that's what you need to do. Awesome. Well, tell me as we finish up here, what is one or a couple things you do for fun in this wonderful city of St. Louis? And we talk about that periodically. And you don't have to say Cardinals, but if you do to a Cardinal game, I would like to hear about some Cardinal experiences. But what else do you do?
I do like the Cardinals. I do go to games periodically, not as much as I used to, but I do like to go. But my biggest passion now that I think I do for fun is I like to ride the motorcycle. I like to get out and just let the wind blow and cruise for a while. It makes it easier for me to do some of the stressful parts of the jobs in life.
Riding motorcycles. You must be on the ball and sharp to do that because motorcycles there's a certain amount of excitement that comes along with that too. But it does give you that sense of freedom. I take my freedom similarly on this new thing called a boat. And I feel like it's a little safer just because I'm not these big machines going like this, but the boat I can go woo woo and I'll still be okay. But I get that feeling you're talking about. The wind's blowing out there, you feel like you're out in the world with it, sense of freedom and what you got going on there, and you need something like that. So, hey, all you Harley guys out there, give Kyle a call, and maybe y'all can ride bikes together,
There you
cruising
go.
across the country. So, for some of the excitement that's out there. Well, Kyle, again, thank you so much for taking the time to spend on our show here again. This has been another 1-hour rendition of the Your Little Castle show. The first 28 minutes will air on ABC, and then, or maybe we cut some out from later and put it back. We're not sure, but we like to give everybody an extended version, and then we can take all of that and put it out on social media out there for you and give that to Kyle. We're going to give him a copy of this, and we also actually going to cut it up into clips. We're offering something kind of neat and fun now too. That we've got some AI clips that we found about. So I'm just going to share with Kyle the link to do that, and he may want to go off and take care of that because it's really cool, and it allows you to cut this whole thing up into pieces because it's a lot to absorb a 56-minute, 1-hour video clip. And if you're trying to fall asleep or late at night, you got time, just let these things roll. That's kind of what I do. But a lot of times we're in such quick, fast, and in a hurry. And if you want to get somebody's attention, they've kind of figured this out. Ever heard of, it used to be Vime, and then Vime was an offshoot from Twitter. I met Jack Dorsey, who used to own Twitter until Elon Musk bought it from him. But Jack Dorsey's from St. Louis. He ended up in a Cardinal game years ago, and they came up to me when I was doing my thing, and they said, "We'd like to get a picture with you. There's Jack Dorsey right up there," and he noticed you. And then Jack got a picture with me. That's one of my jokes. Jack got a picture with me. I didn't get a picture with Jack. He got a picture with me. But I went to the event they invited me to after that. But they went to this Vime thing, and the video thing was really where it was all going. They were just kind of ahead of their time. Now this whole thing called TikTok, and now Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everybody and YouTube are all trying to come up with what they call video shorts, right? And these are the short version. So we'll help you to get those made out of this whole interview because that's what you're going to use to get people's attention so that you can keep sharing with people what it is they need to know. And my dad told me years ago, nothing else matters until you get their attention first, right? You have the best product in the world, best website, whatever it is, but if you don't have their attention, the rest does not matter. And so we're going to help you do that because we think you're doing great stuff, Kyle, and keep doing the stuff you do in our community.
I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, hopefully you've been enjoying another rendition of I know you have because it's a lot of fun we have here. And I have some very important notes that we've taken here along the way. So, Kyle, thank you for helping me take some important notes.
Thank
and we're
you.
going to do some more of that. And stay tuned for more, everybody. Giddy up.